Today we can see we have the small stock crash. Many companies' stock prices dropped today. Some companies dropped about 10% or even more, but I would say the average is about 5%. And when we take a look here, actually in the morning the stock price was even worse, was way lower, and now it already did recover. But I can only speak from the German perspective. This is the German market, and the American market didn't open yet. So there can also happen a lot of things. The stock prices can drop even more, or it can recover again. So we don't really know. So the stock market crash has different reasons. I would also say it starts in Japan because they have the worst stock market crash right now since 1987. So that's very bad. And this is also in the connection with the yen because the yen is now stronger. And this is also affecting the stock market in Japan. But the second reason would be just the fear of recession in general. So that's a big reason that many people fear now to have a recession in the US economy. And the next reason would be that Warren Buffett sold over 55% of his Apple shares, and that was his biggest position, and he's one of the biggest investors in general. He's very famous and influential, so he sold so much of his Apple position, of his biggest position, and this can also be a sign that the stock market in general can be overvalued or can now drop even more in the next days. So I think it has also the big reason that Warren Buffett sold his stocks, that really affecting other investors too, that maybe they will follow his advice. The next thing I would like to do is talk about the stock's valuation right now, if I think they are undervalued or which stock I would buy. So if we take a look at the biggest companies, let's say Nvidia, we can see it did drop a lot today, about 9%. And 1 week is even more, it's 12%. And 1 month is 24%. But still, when we look at 6 months, it's still up 38%. And 1 year is still up 117%. So it's definitely a big drop right now. But also the stock seems very overvalued over the last year. So it doesn't necessarily mean that the stock is undervalued right now. So personally, I think Nvidia is not undervalued right now. I still think they are overvalued. This doesn't mean that the stock market cannot recover and the price can also go up again in the next week or month, because it's just about supply and demand. If there's a lot of demand on Nvidia stocks, the price will go up also. So we cannot really tell, but personally, I think they are still very high valued. What I also think is interesting to consider, the average monthly stock market returns from 1980 to 2018. We can see August and September is the worst performing month, and we are in August right now, so we can still see the worst performing this month, and in September it could even be worse. So it could mean the stock market will decline even more in September. Obviously, it's just history, but we doesn't know if this gonna happen again. But we have to consider this too. This could mean we are looking for even lower prices in the next month. If we ask the question what stocks I would buy right now, I would have to say there are not so many stocks I'm currently interested to investing in, because I still think many companies are overvalued. Even though I like Amazon, I like Apple, but I still think the price is very high. Because if we take a look, they are still up over the 1 year, 13%. And on 5 years, they are up 311%. So this could still mean they are expensive. Obviously, we have to look the financials to really know that, but I still think a lot of companies are expensive right now. So some companies maybe are interesting for me. So I think Nike is interesting, but only if you really believe in the brand. So I think they are quite cheap valued, but they really have to perform well in the future. They have to selling a lot of products and get the hype again. So then it could be cheap right now. The next company I think is cheap in my eyes is PayPal. So what's interesting about PayPal? They had the good earnings. So first the stock price was quite cheap here, and then they delivered the very good earnings. And now the stock price crashed again, even lower than before earnings. And that's for me very interesting opportunity to invest if you believe in PayPal. So still in September maybe is not the greatest month for stocks in general, so it could go even lower. But I believe it could be the very good chance right now because they have the good earnings and they still look undervalued in general. So if you enjoyed this video, please subscribe and like because it means a lot to me and I would like to see the channel growing.